Hello, hello. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. We are starting. Even though we're a minute early, I just can't stand it anymore. So I'm so glad to have you here. I'm seeing people from all over the place, Texas, London, all sorts of places. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Illinois. All right, so I had some good questions in the chat. We kind of addressed them a little bit, but today I want to get into the business of what we're going to talk about today. Let me kind of tell you a couple of things about how I'm going to do this today. I am going to start by kind of addressing how I build a tree. And I am going to go through the process, show you kind of how I do it, what records I use in order to do it safely, you know, like without making the mistakes that are so common. And if you have questions about what we're talking about in that kind of moment, put them in the chat. I'm looking at multiple screens, so I'm going to be kind of going back and forth a little bit, but I will get to your questions in the chat. If you have a question that's kind of like off topic, that's totally cool. But what I'd like to do is, if you wouldn't mind kind of holding it, because the chat will get kind of full, and hit me with it at the end, and then we'll hit some of those other types of questions. I'm totally fine with that. If you put a question in the chat and I don't answer it, then by all means ask it again, because I may not have seen it. So be patient with me in that regard. I'll do my best. Anyway, I'm still kind of new to live streams. Those of you who are members of Aimee's crew and I do a monthly live stream like this know that I've had my ups and downs with the process. And so I'm still kind of figuring it out. You know, one of the things about genealogy is that it's a great place to continually be learning. The industry is changing so much. There's so much to learn. And I love that. It keeps me moving. It keeps my brain working. And I love that about genealogy. While doing this YouTube channel has been that on steroids. So I'm constantly learning something new and failing occasionally at it. So anyway, let me explain Aimee's Crew to those of you who aren't familiar with it. Aimee's Crew is a YouTube membership that you can have. It's $9.99 a month. And as part of Aimee's Crew, you get access to my monthly handout. I do one handout a month. I haven't been able to get more done than that a month. I do one handout a month, and you get that for free. Or you can buy my handouts on my Etsy page if you don't want to be part of Aimee's Crew. Totally cool. And then you also get access as part of Aimee's Crew to a monthly live stream just like this, where I work on my own family tree. This time I'm going to build a totally clean one. But sometimes, but on the monthly crew with Aimee, I'm building my own family tree, talking about different things, DNA results, finding DNA matches in my tree, or working them into my tree, cleaning up the tree, dealing with some of my brick walls, because I have them too, and things like that. So you can go to my channel page and join Aimee's Crew if you want to. There's also links to everything in the chat. So my next Aimee's Crew is on the Wednesday, the 23rd. This coming up Wednesday in a few days at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So anyway, if you haven't joined, hope to see you there. All right, so let's get into this, all right? I want to show you guys my screen here to make sure all this is working right. So we've kind of got two little screens here. Right here, and I'm going to kind of move this over here for now, I have a census record. I have actually wanted to do this for a year. I kid you not. I have really wanted to do this for a year. And I haven't really known how to do it. I wanted to talk to somebody and maybe build a tree with them. And a lot of people that I know already have part of their tree built. And I just couldn't figure out how best to do this. And then finally I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull somebody out the census and we're going to build their tree. So I decided to pull my dad. So this is San Gabriel, Los Angeles, California. This is my 1950 census record. And let me show you, my dad is right here, George Jr., with my grandmother and my grandfather. All are deceased, my uncle and aunt, who is deceased as well. And so this is my family right here. And so I was looking at the 1950 census, and I have a few families on either side of them. And my grandma and my dad used to talk about Frank and Stella Smith. I didn't know, this was when my dad was little. They ended up moving to Orange County. And I don't know if this is the right Frank and Stella Smith, but I kind of think so. And I don't really know anything about them. So I kind of want to know about Frank and Stella Smith. But there's also Clarence and Emily Stickley on the other side of them, and I don't really know them either. So let's pick one, and I'm going to let you pick. I don't care. So in the chat, really quick, I want you to either write Smith or Stickley, and we're going to build that tree. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. And while you're choosing which family you want to pick, let me talk a little bit about ancestry trees while I'm waiting for you guys to throw in your votes, because there's a little bit of a delay. All right, so I'm hoping everybody can hear okay and everything's working all right. I haven't seen anybody vote yet on my chat. So hopefully this is all like working. Let me know if you're hearing and seeing it, everything okay. So this is my family or my ancestry page. I am not today going to go over the, oh, I'm starting to see your votes. Awesome, thank you. So I'm not today going to go over building a brand new tree on Ancestry when you have never built one before, because when you join Ancestry, they're going to walk you through the process. Let me just go to me so we're not looking at that page. They're going to walk you through the process. They're going to ask you questions, and your first tree on Ancestry is really easy. I don't want to do that. These strategies actually would apply to that as well, but it looks like it looks very different, all right? So sometimes we need to build another tree, or sometimes we want to kind of restart our tree. Maybe we've made some mistakes and we want to kind of gut check and do it again. So we're going to start today building a tree like a clean tree when you already maybe have been through the process on Ancestry, all right? So let's see here. Oh, good. Karen, thank you for telling me we're all good, and I'm seeing a lot of replies. I see Smith and Stickler, but it looks like Smith is one. Barely. All right, so, or Stickley. Gosh, it's close. All right, it looks like Smith is one though. All right, so we're gonna do Smith. Okay, so let me go back to the screen where you guys can see this. We're gonna look at the Smith tree. All right, how do I start a tree? I go up here to the top and I go to build trees, and I got a bunch of trees in here, but somewhere underneath your trees, you're gonna see create and manage trees, all right? These little things that say Pro are Pro Tools, which I have, and we may look at them a little bit through the process of today just by, I'm not intentionally, but just because. So we're gonna go to create and to manage a tree. And then we're gonna go down to the very bottom and we're gonna create a new tree, all right? So this is where you start when you create a new tree, and you want to start with your home person. So I'm going to move this over a little bit. And by the way, I know my face is here, but I think that's a little bit more interactive and helpful. But if my face is ever in the way of what you need to see on the screen, would you put that in the chat and I'll hopefully notice it, and then I can switch to a view where you can see it better, okay? All right, so here is the census record. We've chosen Smith. So they lived on Willard Avenue, which I remember that from my dad. They lived at 727 Willard Avenue. So they were, my dad was at 721. So it looks like they may have literally been next door. Frank P. Smith was 31 years old, born in Utah. He was married. His wife was, that's his wife, married. N-E-V is never married. Their son, Ronald, was 2 years old. Frank was born in Utah. Stella and Ronald in California. Frank was a salesman for an automotive parts company, and he had worked 40 hours a week, so he had a pretty steady job there, for at least for that year. All right, so I'm going to move this over just a little bit so that we have this information right here, and then I'm going to kind of go like that. So you can see both. Now we can kind of see both records. Let me move Frank and Stella up a little bit so that they're not in the way of my face. All right. Okay, so let's dive in. All right, let's start with, I actually want to start with Ronald because we want to look at both of his parents. So I'm going to put Ronald in the tree, Ronald L. Smith. He's a male, and I don't know if he's living in or deceased. And he was 2 years old, so he was born in, let's just say 1948 in California. All right, so, and I'm gonna add USA. By the way, it's not popping up here and I'm not quite sure why. Choose from the drop-down menu. I don't know why this isn't working right now. It normally will. The reason that you want to choose from the drop-down menu is it helps Ancestry in your AI, in your hints, in the searching it's doing for you. And it's also, they have one of their new Pro Tools is mapping your family tree. and it will really help with that too. So you want to not enter funky stuff in there. You want to enter the places and the locations that Ancestry is, kind of confirming for you. With the city count in the United States, I know we got somebody here from England, maybe a few people from out of the United States, but in the United States with the city, county, and state, and then it says USA at the end, or if this is true too for like in England or Australia or anywhere else, you want to make sure you include that information in the tree as well properly, okay, so that they can like grab onto it and know where you're talking about. All right, enough said. When you're building a tree, you need to add 2 people before it really works. So now I'm going to add Dad. All right, now we're going to add Frank P. Smith, who was born in about, let's see, 1950 minus 37 is 1913, is that right? 13, be 40, yeah, that's about right. He was born in about 1913, and he was born in Utah. And here I have the Utah, USA option right there, okay? I'm going to say he's living because I don't know if he's alive or dead yet either. And so now I'm going to say continue. All right, after you put 2 people into your tree, then you have the opportunity to name your tree. Okay, and so you can name your tree anything that you want. It doesn't really matter what you call it. A lot of people, I actually got this from Krista Cowan and I changed my tree. I call my tree a working tree. And the reason that I do is that so people know that this is definitely a tree in process. And there may be some test stuff in there. There may be some assumptions. I try to use tree tags and things like that to talk about that. But anyway, you can name your tree whatever you want. This little box right here allows other people to view the tree. Ancestry or genealogy is really a community. So if you allow somebody to view your tree, you're allowing them to see what you're figuring out. I kind of advocate for that, but I will say when I do client trees, they're all private because that's not my place to make that decision for the client. So it's kind of up to you whether you want to make your tree public or private. You can actually go in and change that later if you click it now and then take it off later. Totally cool, you can change that. If you didn't see, I did a video last week it's called Ancestry Guide, and I talk a lot about this type of thing and other like kind of maneuvering on Ancestry. And I'm going to try not to do a ton of that today because I don't want to waste a lot of time on it when you can watch the video. So watch that other video on YouTube for Ancestry Guide. Also, there's a link to that in the show description as well for this video. All right, so I'm going to save the tree and I'm going to allow other people to view this tree. All right, so now I have my 2 individuals. I'm going to go ahead and not add mom, and I want to show you why. So now I want to see if I can find this Ronald Smith. Let's see if I can find him. Let's see if I have a hint yet. I don't have a hint yet for this 1950 record, but I also don't have a location for him as well. And Smith is a really common name. So, somebody asked, Devin asked, is it bad to use about? No, it's not. And actually, if I wasn't, that was a good question, Devin. If I would prefer to use about, but I knew that I'm going to be doing it here in a minute by like adding these census records, so I didn't. But when you're not sure, I totally recommend you use about. Just it's ABT period, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. That'll come up. So good question. All right, so I'm not seeing any hints for him. Back to hints. Sometimes it takes Ancestry to a while to come up with hints for you. And they tend to focus on the parts of your tree where you're currently working. So if you are, you may come back even in a few minutes and find more hints, or you may come back the next day and find more hints. And that's totally cool. And Ancestry will start generating more hints when I give them more information that allows them to successfully generate them. And I will say, yes, I'm building a tree. You just came in. I'm building a tree off a random person. I don't know who this is. It's the only way for me to start a brand new, fresh, totally clean tree and show you the discovery process. Good question too. Next lifetime, Brendan. I like that name. Anyway, all right, so let's dive in. So I don't remember what I was talking about, but hints, but let's look at it. So I want to find this record. So I'm going to click search up here. This searches for information for Ronald, and it inputs his information into the tree. So we're going to see right over here, it already has his name, his birth date, and junk like that. And look at my very first record for Ronald L. Smith. It's the San Gabriel, Los Angeles. This is it. All right. I may have had to put in the location in order to find this record, but I didn't have to. So my advocation to you, this is the Frank Smith, this is Ronald, and oh, they have Ruth Oxender living in the same household, who is the sister-in-law to Frank. Cool. That gives us some more information. All right, so always, always, always open up the image in another tab or look at it through your process, because there's going to be information on the image that you're not going to get through the indexed information, which is what you're seeing right here. This is indexed information, and FYI, sometimes it's wrong. People have misread it. And so always look at the actual image too. All right, so let's look at this image for a minute really quick first. And I wanted to point out too that I just noticed in this image, because I love this, let me take this off. I love this about Ancestry. FamilySearch doesn't do this. They highlight the record that you're looking at. The yellow is the actual person that we have. See, we have Ronald right here at the top, right? And then the green is the rest of the household. But if you're noticing this 1950 census, because Ruth was in this, let me blow this up a little bit more so you can see this. And I'm gonna make this kind of go away. It's still over here, so let's put the family over here so you can kind of see them if you want to. But so I may get rid of this altogether here in a minute. But so if we look at this record right here, then the 1950 census and 1940 had supplemental questions too. That means that they randomly, every 5 people, and in the 1940 census it wasn't quite as often, they asked additional questions. So Ruth was one of those people. So what does it say about Ruth? So Ruth was in the same house a year, no, she was not in the same house a year ago. She was not living on a farm. She was living in the same country. Both of her parents were born in the United States. She had completed 12th grade. She earned $1,400, worked for 32 weeks. All right, that's all we know about Ruth. All right, so I've looked at what I want to see in this record. So now I'm going to save the record to the tree. So I'm going to save this record to Ronald Smith. Now, this is adding this information, and you notice here they put the about. And the reason is, in census records, they asked your birth at the time of this, or your age, excuse me, at the time of the record. So this census was taken on April 18th, 1950. So Ronald's age on April 18th, 1950 was 2 years old. So we know he was born in about 1948. He could have been born in 47. He could have been born in 49, depending on how old he was, right? Depending on when the census was. Oh, his birth would have been in 1921, 31. Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. I'm going to figure that out here in just a second. Watch. Thank you, Richard. I'm nervous having you all here, and I got nervous and I messed it up. All right, so I also have this other description information, relation to head, son, marital status, never married, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I'm going to save this record by clicking this box to Frank Smith. And we see my math was wrong. Thank you, by the way. It looks like both of our math was wrong. Anyway, so he would have actually been born in about 1919, so we fixed that. By the way, anything that you check here is going to change what you have here. So see, if you look, if I uncheck it, well, I have that 1913. If I check it, now it's replaced the 1913 it says was with 1919. Now I always keep my boxes open, right? So that I can change things if I want to, but I could close these boxes so that they are not. I change, and you're gonna see how I utilize that in just a minute. All right, so now I'm gonna add the wife via the census record. There is a group of people that don't like to do that. They like to manually enter the person. The reason is sometimes it kind of messes a few things up. I prefer to do it this way and then manually fixes the messes, which will probably encounter a mess or two, and I'll show you how I fixed it. But anyway, whatever strategy works for you. You either need to add the person in manually and then give the record to them, or you need to, do it like me. All right, so we've got Stella L. Smith. Now, her name is not Smith, right? Because we're always in genealogy put a maiden name for the surname, and she's married. So I'm actually going to take that out and just leave it at Stella L, because she's not a Smith. Well, she's a Smith, but her birth name wasn't Smith. Let me get some water here. All right, so now we have Ronald in the 1950 census. We have Frank and Stella. We have their approximate ages. Let's see what else we can find. I want to keep looking for Ronald. Still have no hints. Sorry, my computer's a little slower because I'm running the software to live stream. All right, we have a Ronald L. Smith who died in 1964. He was born the 2nd of December, 1948. Could be him, but I don't know. And once I accept this information on Ronald, then it's going to drive my tree down a direction. I'm not comfortable. See, we have another Ronald L. Smith living in Los Angeles County in Burbank. He was born, let's see, when was this guy born? They don't have it in the indexed information. He's the same age. So we have 2 Ronald Smiths living in Los Angeles County that I've already identified, and I'm sure there's probably more. All right, so Smith is just way too common of a name. So I'm going to table Smith for a minute, Ronald, and I'm going to move on to something else. So let me see what we got for questions now. Yeah, about means approximate date or year. Good way to answer that. Thank you so much. Looks like, okay, we're good. All right, so let's go to Frank. Let's see what's going on with Frank. Now, when you're building a tree, I mentioned this a second ago. They're going to give you lots of hints. We're just going to get rid of all that stuff really quick. So again, I have no hints for Frank, okay? And I will say that when you're initially looking at records, you want to make sure that you connect as many points, especially with a surname like Smith. Smith is so common. You really need to make sure that you're trying to connect on multiple points and that you're grabbing the right person. Because once you adopt them into your tree, it's going to drive your hints. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute a little bit more. All right, let me just I have no hints for him still. So let me do a manual search again. And let me see. Now, once you've entered in some information, you're going to get some hints. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, I have a World War II draft card of a Frank Smith. He's not living in the same area, but let's open this baby up. Let's look at the image. This record says that his employer is Louis Oxender. That's a name we're familiar with. And his wife is Stella Louise. It's in Los Angeles County. Now remember, this record here said that in the bottom, it said that at least the sister-in-law, Ruth, did not live there the year before. So the family may have moved. So things to think about. All right, so we've got Frank, P initial only. So he didn't have they only gave, I don't know why they wrote that. I don't see that very often. He was born on August 25th, 1918. That fits with what we know about his birth date. Salt Lake City, Utah. Works, Mrs. Stella Louise Smith, wife. Fairbanks. Okay, this looks like this is probably my guy. But I want to actually look a little bit more before I drive down this record. All right, and I want to point out you've got arrows on either side. I want to look a little bit more at this record. This is the back side of that card, okay? He was 5'6.5", 160 pounds, white, gray eyes, brown hair, ruddy complexion. He did this on, there's no, October 16th. It doesn't say what year. All right, that was a mistake on the registrar's part. I'm going to keep this record over here. And I'm not going to save this to Frank yet because with a name like Smith, I got to be extra special cautious. All right, so I'm going to look at Stella, all right? I want to look at Stella now because if Ruth is her sister and Ruth is single, she's been never married, NEV next to Ruth. Do you see that right here? So that means that Stella's surname ought to be Oxender, which is an easier surname. So let's take advantage of that. And look, I've got hints and I have potential parents. Now, I'm not a fan of potential. Let me take a minute to talk about this. there's a couple of things you need to be aware of. One, those types of hints that they give you on Ancestry are based on other people's trees. And actually, the hints that they even present to you frequently are based on other people's trees. I cannot tell you enough about the importance of being careful about adopting these hints, because I can't tell you how often trees are wrong. All right. So if you're going to take the time to do genealogy, do it right and discover this information yourself and be comfortable with the information. Okay. I don't accept other people's trees. I may look at them, but I don't accept them. And I don't adopt these parents. Okay. So you're going to see me be extra cautious, especially when I'm dealing with Smiths. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the screen. All right. So we've got some hints for Stella. Let's take a look at them. The first one is, of course, the ancestry trees, and I'm going to ignore them because it's what I do. Don't worry, they don't disappear, and this is in my video about the Ancestry Guide. They're right here. You can look at them again, and I talked a little bit more about all this in the Ancestry Guide video. Check that one out. All right, so we see Stella living in Los Angeles County with a Ruth. We see her again in 1940 with a Ruth. We have a birth index for her. Look, I have a marriage for a Stella and a Frank P. Smith. I have a marriage record of a Stella Louise Oxender with a Frank P. Smith with a Ronald Lewis Smith. A cute picture, city directory, and then some newspaper article in 1976. All right, so it's not an obituary. I'm going to table that one for now. But if it was an obituary, I'd want to look at it. But I've already got a lot of information here that's really helpful. Let's go to the marriage first, all right? Actually, no. Let's do this 1930 census with Stella and Ruth. All right, so we're going to review this one because I want to see if the ages for Ruth are the same as the ages as the person in the 1950 census. And because that will give me further proof that I'm on the right path, okay? So here's the 1950 census. I'm opening this up. Somebody talked about putting things in shoeboxes. I don't. You can. The shoebox is not a bad place to go. I would have a ton of documents in shoeboxes. If I have a record in a shoebox, then a lot of times I don't ever see it again. I actually open up tabs. See, I still have that World War II draft card here. I deal with it all at the same time. If I do have something that I haven't dealt with, I'll put it in the shoebox later. But that's a really good thought. And that works better for a lot of people. All right, we have a Lewis. We have a Stella as the mom. Stella, daughter, born, that's about the right age. And Ruth was 6, so she would have been born in about 1924, which fits with this Ruth. She was 26. That's perfect. All right, so I'm believing this is my people. I'm going to go out of this. Actually, I'll leave it over to the side. I'm going to adopt the fact over here. I'm going to say yes. Oh, I didn't talk to you about one thing about adopting the fact. I'll go back to that in a minute. I'm going to add the parents right here. I'm going to just add them in this way. Now, again, is this mom Stella's last name? Nope, taking it out. All right, and then I'm going to add Ruth right here. So now we have Ruth born in about 1924, and I'm going to save this to my tree. All right, so everything's matching. Birthplaces, ages, everything's looking really sweet. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this for right now, and now let's keep plowing through these hints on Stella. Let's look at this 1940 census. When you click review on a hint, it's going to open up in the side panel. I got to tell you, I hate this side panel. I really do. I don't think it's as safe a place to add a hint. If you say yes, then you can add it to the other people on the side panel. There's a couple things that don't happen when you do that. Click right here instead. You'll get a full screen. This is why I like it better. I get to see all this right here. I get to see the parents that I had already entered into the tree. This is my tree. This is what I have in my tree. I get to see her husband and her kids. I get to see all this information. All right, that helps me out a lot. And so, and I can go down here and just look at all of this. I see Stella, mom. I don't see dad, but I see the 2 girls. All right, so let's take a look at this image and let's add this one to our tree. See if this is still correct. Everything's looking good. And sometimes I'll say yes, just to do the quick compare on the ages because I don't want to do the math in my head. They're renting for $60 a month. Mom, it says married, but it's crossed off. M for married, but there's a line through it. So she could be widowed, could be divorced. because in this census, they actually did ask if you were divorced. I think it might be the first one that was an option. So I'm not sure about her marital status. Stella is not working. Mom, daughter Stella is a secretary in a warehouse. All right, I'm liking it. Let's add this to the tree. And I'm kind of moving a little bit faster just so that we can get more done. But if you have questions, put them in the chat. All right, so this is Stella daughter. All of this is perfect, right? This is all looking good. Stella mom. All right, all of this, a year difference, not worried about that at all because we have that about time period. Plus census records, especially as you move further back in time, people didn't even remember when they were born. They didn't have a birth certificate. So ages are kind of fluid, and sometimes the neighbor gave the enumerator the information on when somebody was born. And so they may have kind of guessed. So don't let the ages on a census record freak you out. If everything else is lining up and you don't see anybody else in there that it could be, then it's okay. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a bad thing. All right, and then let's see about this with Ruth. Look at perfect. All right, we're good to go. All right, let's save this record to her. I want to keep plowing through these hints. All right, now we've got a marriage record. Okay, but wait a second now. Let's look at this for a minute. I've got this marriage record. But let me go back to Stella. I'm going to put her over here now. In 1940, she's enumerated with her mom. So is this right? This is a problem, all right? When we run into a problem like this, we've got to resolve it because this is how trees are like, yeah, it looks good. Let's keep going, all right? So somebody asked me about married name. Yes, it can confuse the algorithms. Devin, let me answer that later. If I don't come back to it, would you hit me with it again? Because we'll definitely talk about that. All right, so we got a problem. Stella married Frank in 1940, but she was enumerated with her mom in 1940. So what do? We got to figure out what happened. Let's look at Stella. I want to look at this 1940 census again because I want to know exactly when it was taken. Maybe you didn't see it. The enumeration took place on April 17th, 1940. So I'm going to go back to Stella, and I'm going to add that. I don't always do this, but if it's in doubt, I do that. So it was the 17th of April, 1940. Again, I have a drop-down menu. If you notice, Ancestry likes to put their dates in European format. A lot of people in Europe use this format as well. It can be very confusing when you write 2/2 1940. Was that people from other places can look at that and say, what was that, or maybe 2/3, was that March 2nd or was that February 2nd? This eliminates that confusion, okay? So I'm going to add that now to Stella. And then when I look at this marriage record on May 2nd, so the enumerator came by on the 17th, just a couple weeks before she got married. And then she got married. So this works, right? So, I didn't look at the record. I can still click it from here and open the link. I want to look at that really quick. Look at that record. Let's see what we got here. It doesn't give me any really other information other than I do have the book that it was recorded in and the page. So if I wanted to go pull the original marriage record, I could then go to the county and get the original marriage record. I have everything that I need to do that. Yippee. All right, so we're going to add this to Frank. It says unknown California. Wait a minute. It is unknown. There's no county in here. Let's go to the first page of this document and see if we can find out a little bit more information about where, nope, we can't. All right, so we're gonna go with just, I don't want unknown California, that's like dumb. So I'm gonna take that out and we're just gonna say California. All right, click that box and save to the tree. All right, so now I have a timeline for Stella. I have her in Beverly Hills. I have her marrying Frank in 1940, birth of son in 48. All right, let's see what else we can find, what other hints we've got going here for Stella. And then I'm going to move back to Frank. Oh, I've got the birth index. Let's take a look at this. All right, in the birth index, again, I'm going to open this up full screen. If you see something like this, this is an indexed record. There is no image, so there's nothing to open there. I could click on ordering her birth certificate. Different states have different laws and restrictions on that. But I see a Stella Oxender born the 30th of March, 1920. Right now I have her born in 1920. Oxender is a pretty unusual name in Alameda, okay? Let's go back and look at Stella. In 1930, she was in LA. So let's look at Lewis and see if we can find Lewis before Stella was born or if she was born. I'm just being extra careful. Again, I'm ignoring the trees. It looks like he died in 1963, if this is the same guy. So that works. Now, our record said, the census record said he was born in Illinois. The name is pretty unusual. Here I have him in 1950 with Stella. Let's review this record really quickly. I did want to go to 1910, though. I want to see if they were in that area. So we're just going to add this one super quick. I want to see where they were at. Oh, they were still in Beverly Hills. And it was just Stella and Lewis. They didn't have their daughter Ruth living with them, and they didn't have Stella, their daughter Stella. Okay, that makes sense. If Ruth or Stella had been enumerated with them, there's another warning sign, right? I'm like, wait a minute, another red flag I got to resolve, okay? So let's add this super quick. I'm not going to do this one right now because I don't need it. It just causes more junk on my tree. Everything's lining up, okay? We're all looking good, all right? Save that to my tree. All right, so I was looking at Lewis for that 1920 census. Let's see where they were in 1920. 1920, Alameda with Stella. I'm loving this. This is looking so good. All right, let's take a more careful look at this. If my screen would go, please go. Doot, doot, doot. See, we got questions while we're waiting. Look for the enumeration date of the census. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, no other questions there. Let's open up this really quickly. Take a look at the image. I know that takes time, guys, but I promise you, especially if this is your family, when you see these other information that the census record gives for you, man, it's so cool. You know what I mean? It just helps you feel closer to your family, and you know, you learn. I haven't really been paying a ton of attention, but you see occupations. You see whether they own their land. Now this says that Lewis was born in Illinois. His dad was born in Indiana. Mom was German. Okay, but they have no children here, and they're in Alameda. All right, this is all 1 + 1 is equaling 2. All right, we're going to add this record to Lewis and to his wife, Stella. Now, see, this was indexed incorrectly. They called her Stell. All right, I'm not worried about that. And I could go back and look at the image, and the A kind of probably looked a little bit like an E. No big deal. All right, so let's see. We're going to continue to build this tree for somebody that I don't know is what we're doing. Somebody just asked, what are you doing? I'm building a tree from scratch on somebody that I don't know. And the rest of y'all can fill them in on some of the questions. Oh, somebody said questions. Would you go to the parents to try to get another surname there? Kim asked. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I do like to get those parents' names. I'm not quite sure what that question means. Can you elaborate on that, Kim? And is this where you might use the shoebox? I kind of addressed that earlier. I would probably do the shoebox later. I think we did talk about that. I think I've hit all the questions. If I hadn't, somebody put it in the chat again. All right, so where are we at now? Let's see. We've got Lewis. We've got Stella. The whole reason we pulled that up was because of this birth index we had over here with Stella in Alameda. Remember, she was living in Los Angeles County in all of our other records, and I wanted to see if I could trace the family to Alameda and see if 1 + 1 = 2, and we have her parents enumerated right before she was born in Alameda. All right, so let's click yes. This is definitely our Stella. And now instead of this 1920 date, I want to add in the correct date. I want to replace it. And I also want to add in her surname. Now that I have her maiden name, I want to put that in there. And I want to put Alameda. Okay, I want to keep the Alameda in there because that's more information, okay? So I've kind of been working some of these clues on Stella. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to, well, let me just look at Stella's clues a little bit more. Great, thanks. Thanks for telling me that, Kim. So we have a marriage record for Stella and Ron. Now that we know Stella's maiden name is Oxander, then now I'm kind of thinking this is her son Ron's real marriage record, right? We found like multiple points of contact to help us know we've got the right family. We just didn't find some Smith that looked right, right? Which is our danger. So we have Frank P. Smith, Stella Louise Oxander. All right, this is our marriage record. He was living in Virginia at the time, but this says birth date's about right. Now I have an actual date of birth for him. And it says that he was born in California and that his residence was actually in Los Angeles. Boy, this is sweet. All right, so let's go back to this record, and I'm going to add this to Ronald, who was the original person. Now, when I don't always add these to the parents, a marriage record of a son. That's kind of a choice thing. Do you want to add that to the parent? Do you want to add a bunch of sources to the parent or not? When I have records that definitively connect parents and child, then I usually do. If it's not such a big deal, then I don't. This record gave his birth date. I am. It also gave us his middle name, so I'm going to click this box here to fix that here. It gives us his exact birth date, which works. So now all of a sudden, if we go to my tree, let's go to this tree really quick. So now we started with nothing, and now we haven't done a lot in 40, well, I didn't spend a lot of time talking, but in 30 minutes, we've gotten this far. But I've been really careful, okay? I have exact birth dates now for these two folks, all right? So let's keep looking at Lewis a little bit more and see if we can find out a little bit more about the Lewis Oxender family. I'm gonna ignore that tree. All right, so we have him with, this has been indexed op-ender. Could be him. Same names in 1900 as Oxender. I have a Social Security death index. I have a Lewis Frederick Pender in Beverly Hills, enumerated in 1940. Remember, he wasn't with his wife in 1940. I have him in Alameda in this draft card. I want to see if his wife is listed there and see if that connects me to help me know for sure this is my Lewis. Okay, one of the other things that I will frequently do, and I'm going to do it right here. Let's say I am not sure that I've got the right people and I want to kind of do a little bit of a gut check, okay? And so, oh, and somebody pointed that out. Stella's birth record did talk about her mom's name. Let's look at that really quick. Thank you. I missed that. And it didn't happen in the, thank you so much for helping me out here. It didn't happen in my connecting. This said mom's maiden name for this Stella is Karasan. All right, so I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to now edit this and put it right here. Thank you for pointing that out. I missed it. All right, so gut check. Let's go back to gut check. If I want to do a gut check, I'll do a search over here on this side, and I'm going to hit census and voter lists, and I'm just going to type in Oxender, and I'm going to hit Alameda County, California, and I'm going to keep it to Alameda and surrounding counties. I just want to see if there's a bunch of Oxenders there. I doubt it. It's kind of a weird name, but it's always possible, and I'm for sure got to do this with Smith. So when I look at this record, I'm seeing multiple ones. We're talking about 1920, all right? The draft card would have been around 1918. The census was for 1920. We have the Lewis that we looked at today, with his wife Stella, right here. There's another Lewis, and he's married, and he's with Minnie, and they're living with Maria. But I'm not seeing, that's a voter registration. Let's just keep it right to the census records. It'll make it look a little better here for us. All right. I do not have the problem, I do not have the problem of a bunch of people by that name in this area. This is what I often call in my videos gut checks, right? This is a census evaluation. I call it that a lot. All right, so I am totally cool now with adding this World War I registration to Lewis Fred Oxender. All right, so I am going to open this up in a new tab and look at the link. And I am going to look at this draft card. It says that his nearest kin is Lewis L. Oxender at 530 Merritt, which is the same address. It says that he was born in 1896 in Chicago, Illinois. This was done on June 5th, 1918. All right, I like it. Let's save it. All right, now I have an exact birth date for him. Now I know what F stands for. It's Fred. All right, I'm just going to manually type that in, or I could have clicked this. This gave me a date range. Remember, I don't like ranges if I can fix them. This is June 5th, 1918. So I'm going to put in, I'm going to put in, whoa, let's get to the right record. It was June 5th, right? I'm already forgetting. June 5th, 5th of June, 1981. Yeah, right, 1918. All right, click that. All right, saving that to my tree. Fix that date, made it look a little better. Now I have some good stuff here. I have his residence here. This record did give his address, okay? And I might want to add that here. So I could edit this box and I could put in address. I use this a lot for pertinent information. For anything that I find that I think I need to make sure I remember, he lived at 530 Merritt. 530 Merritt. All right. And so I can just save that. If I'm adding a source in the tree, like let's say, and I talk about this in some of my other videos, I think I did it in my Ancestry Guide video too. Let's say this birth information, I don't have a source for it. Right now we have sources for it, and this is all in my Ancestry Guide video. But if I don't have a source for it, I may write in here from Family Bible or because Grandma Georgette told me so. So if you're putting in information that you can't connect to a source, so right now I've connected everything to a source. But if you're putting information in that you can't connect to a source, write it here, because I promise you think you'll never forget, you're going to forget. Okay? All right, so let's keep going. All right, so on Lewis, let's look at his hints now. We know in 1918, he was, look at that, 1919, he married Stella Carrison. We see that name again that you pointed out to me. Thank you so much. Ah, looking sweet, liking this. This is awesome. All right, so let's open this up in a new tab. Get rid of that now. I don't have quite so many tabs open. This doesn't really tell us much more than what we... Here's Lewis Oxender, Stella M. Carrison, married in Oakland, who they married. If I'm doing early research, this can be really important. In this instance, it's not quite such a big deal. All right, yes, now we got their marriage, and we've confirmed, we have another record now that's confirmed her birth date, and we have a middle initial. All right, so I have all this information now confirmed. Do you see how I'm connecting the family on multiple points? If I found records that didn't fit, that were causing problems, then I've got to go back and check it. I need to just double check. All right, so let's put his parents in now because we know them. We know his dad's name was Lewis. We know he probably lived with them in 1910. I think this is the right record. All right, let's review this and see. Go to that, open up the image. Now this is a different county, but I'm not gonna take the time. I use Google Maps all the time. If I wasn't sure, I would or Google search. I would pull up a county map of California to see how close Alameda and Solano counties are, or I would just map it on Google Maps. But I know, because I know this area because I had family there, that these are right next to one another, right near one another. So it's not a big deal. I'm not worried about that. Look at, dad's from Indiana, mom's from Germany. We knew that from before, right? We've got Lewis of the right age. I'm gonna look at this image, and I'm going to look at, because it was indexed really funky. Do you see how they came up with op-ender? How the X is crossed? Even though it's enumerated as op-ender, I know it's not. I know it's oxender. I'm not worried about it. Now, I could, I don't think right here. Let me show you. I'll show you that in a minute. So here I have the family. Now I have the parent. And if I click on this, I've got a wrong name. So I'm going to change it to Oxender manually because it's wrong. And I'm going to copy that because I'm going to need to use it again. And then I'm going to save it to his wife, Minnie. I'm taking off that name because that's not her maiden name. And I'm going to add Russell to the tree because sometimes kids, and I'm going to change that name right, sometimes kids can solve our genealogy problems. Yes, thank you for adding that. Helping by writing information in there, it can help other people in your tree. Ancestry does have some free records, but most are behind their paywall. Some of their records on Ancestry, by the way, come from FamilySearch. So if you're trying to save money, look on FamilySearch. But Ancestry is building their own database as well, and they also have additional records that FamilySearch does not have, FYI. All right, so keep going here. All right, so now we have mom and dad. We have them in 1910, but I want to just gut check before I move back over to the Smiths. Were they really in there? Because remember his draft card. Let me just go back to the tree. So this is our tree. Remember Louis Fred's World War I draft card said in 1918 he was living in Alameda County, which is where he married his wife Stella. So I need personally to find another record where I have the family. I want to know that Louis and Minnie were there in 1920 because they should be if his address was listed there. So I see them, look at this, in Alameda County. So I'm going to go to this record. Do you see how I'm connecting things? How I'm just like double checking and finding multiple connections so that I know this is actually the right record. I think this is the reason why trees are built incorrectly, because of things like this. All right, so let's see. It didn't highlight my people. Why didn't it highlight my people? It makes it so much easier. Here we go, Lewis. He lived at 530 Merritt Avenue. That was our address. This is the family. Done. I have made that multiple connection. Now I know that I'm on the right page. I haven't made mistakes. Here we see his birth was in 1872. In this other record, it was 1874. I don't know. I'm not worried about it at this point. We see Germany is still the same. This says she arrived in the United States in 1895. Awesome. Here we have Russell, about the right age, right place, and we're going to add another daughter, Hazel. I had a grandma, Hazel. Love that. All right, so we've done a census evaluation. We know where we're at. We could continue to build this Oxender line, which might be kind of fun. But what I want to do now is switch over to the Smiths, because the Smiths are kind of difficult. Well, actually, let me do one thing first. We saw let me go over to Stella. One of Stella's hints was this picture. I want to look at this. Now, remember, in 1940, she was enumerated in Beverly Hills. And in 1940, it said, I could just get rid of this. Let's just get rid of this. Make this bigger so you can see it better. So in 1940, she was enumerated in Beverly Hills, and that same census asked where she was in 35, and it said she was in Beverly Hills. So there's not going to be very many Stella Louise Oxenders in Beverly Hills in 1937. So I don't want to accept it here. I want to go over here and get it full screen, and then I'm going to open this link in a new tab. And I am going to, let me check something here on my computer super quick. Cool. All right. Okay, so I had this picture of her. Oopsie. And let's move it down. There we go. I'm just pulling it down. Stella Louise is the first picture here. This is going to cause a problem because they've highlighted just this part of her face. I'm going to show you what happens. I'm going to leave this open. So let's save this yearbook record to her. It's asking me, do I want to use that photo as the profile photo? Yes, I don't have another one. This is awesome. And it also, we found this in her death record, but I didn't add it. Oops, Louise. All right, we're going to add her middle name because I didn't do that in the past. Beverly Hills, California is in Los Angeles. I'm going to use that drop-down menu, make sure we've got that location correct. And I'm going to save this to her tree. And I see some of you guys talking a little bit back and forth, so I'm going to just let those conversations go so I can just keep on moving on. All right, do you see how our picture here is kind of ick? And if I try to resize it, I crop it, it doesn't give me the full picture. It just gives me that, which I kind of don't like. I could make it a little bit better, but then I cut off her chin. So I'm going to just go back, and I want to show you what you could do. So I want to put this picture in, I want to put it in better. So I'm going to download this photograph right here. I want to download not the profile photo, just the full image. And I'm going to click save. And then I'm going to download that into my tree. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I can get rid of this now. I'm going to go back to Stella, And I'm going to add a photo to her. Actually, I can add it this way. Let me add it this way. I'm going to, no, I got to add it to her gallery first. Lied. So I'm going to add media to her gallery. I'm going to upload a photo. And I'm going to pull it from my, what's it called, yearbook? From way over here and drop it in here. I had saved it in my downloads box. I'm dropping that photo in here. And this is from 1937. It's from Beverly Hills. I spelled, no, I got it right. Beverly Hills, California. And it's a yearbook photo. I should put more information on the yearbook, but for the sake of you guys, I'm not going to. They can find it through the things because I want to keep moving. All right, let's see what we got here. Come on, gallery. So now I have the full yearbook photo. So now I want to choose a different profile image, and I'm going to pick this yearbook photo. But it's huge. How is that going to work? I'm going to crop it. And now I can go in and I can get a much better looking, oh, it's not letting me go that small. Oh, darn it. All right, so what I would have to do in this instance, I'm still going to do this for now, and then done. What I would have to do is I would have to take the photograph and edit it, and then I could make a copy of it and then crop it on my thing and then upload it, and it would work. But I don't want to take time to do that unless you guys really want me to. If you really want me to do that, then let me know and I'll come back and show you how I would do that. But I don't know that you really care. All right, so let's see. Where are we at on our tree? So we've gotten a lot on this side of the family. We could probably do more work on her, but I'm going to save that for now because Smith is such a hard name. Let's do it. So I'm going to go to Frank P. Smith. Let's see what we can find. Do you remember way back here, we had, let me close this, we had this card for Frank with his wife, Mrs. Stella. Actually, let me open another one. Stella Louise. Okay, so this is making me feel much more comfortable that this is my Frank and it's not another Frank. And the reason that I was a little bit hesitant is it had him in Eagle Rock. All right, so I'm going to save this to Frank. All right, now I have a birthplace, Salt Lake City, Utah, but it's Salt Lake County, so I want to add that. I want to make sure I get my place. I haven't always been doing this really carefully here. You want to make sure you keep that good. I want to put in his full birth date. And I'm not going to save this to Stella because it's just going to clutter up her facts, and I don't want to take the time to do that. So what I want to point out here too, and my Ancestry video talks about how if you click on this, you can see who it links to. Watch the Ancestry Guide video, okay? And for those of you who kind of joined partway through, I did a video last week called Ancestry Guide. There's a handout for it. You can buy it on Etsy. Watch the video. You can buy it on Etsy, the handout. Or if you're part of Aimee's crew, you get the handout for free. And you need to go into the community tab and look at the chat, and I give you the link for the handout. If you join Aimee's crew for $9.99, you also get to do monthly live streams with me doing more of this, but I'm working in my own tree instead of creating a new tree from scratch. So if you haven't joined Aimee's crew, think about it. It's a great way for us to stay in touch, and we get to do some cool stuff just as members. All right, let's talk about Frank. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Frank. Let's see here if anybody has anything. Yes, the surname thing that somebody said. Yeah, good point there. All right, so let's see here. I want to do another gut check for Frank Smith, all right? I'm going to do a census and voter list check. This is what I call a census evaluation. He's in San Gabriel, Los Angeles County in 1950. And wait a minute, this hasn't refreshed because I added that draft card. And he married in probably Alameda County. And then he was born in Salt Lake. So, oh, this didn't give me a date. That's what my problem is. So in that draft card, let's look at this draft card really quick. So this draft card again said he was 22 years of age in 1918, and it only gave us October 16th. So on October 16th, he would have already turned the next year. So he would have been This record would have happened in 19, 20, 30, 40. That would have been exactly 1940. So I am going to go back to this and edit this. And it was it the 5th of June? I think 1914. No, it was October. Oh, darn, I already forgot. 7th of October, 17th of October? I don't know. I'm just going to put October because I can't remember. And I'm going to save this. All right. Sorry, I didn't hold on to that date. All righty, let's see. Yeah, the original marriage record said unknown. I think it was probably Alameda County because his family was enumerated there. But I don't know. We'll see. Let's see if we can find any more about it. But thank you for adding that in there. All right, so we have him still in Los Angeles. So I want to look in I'm going to look in the 40s and 50s. I want to look for Frank P. Smith. Let's just see what we can find. He was born in about 1918. We don't actually know the actual birth date. 1918 in Utah. I'm just going to be generic, okay? Sometimes I'll just do the surname and I won't even add in the first name and I won't put in birth years. But with Smith, that would be enormous. It will be huge. So I'm going to go into Smith and I'm going to see, let's just look at, for instance, the 1950 census. Let's see how many guys we got living by that name in Los Angeles County. Let's keep it to, I want to narrow it down a little bit more. I want to say that he lived in Los Angeles County, California. I'm going to keep it exact to that county and adjacent counties. See what we get. I think I put in something wrong. Somebody pointed out to me. Yeah, thank you for catching that. 18. I'm a dyslexic typer. You're going to probably catch a lot of things as I do these things with you people. And thank you so much for joining. All right, so in 1950, we have a guy born around the same. He was born in Kentucky, Colorado, New York, Utah. That's our guy in San Gabriel, Texas. Oh boy, so we do have quite a few. But I'm not seeing a lot born in Utah, which is good news. So that's kind of helpful. Although the birth dates are changing a little bit, actually. So we're not having a ton. That's helpful. That kind of can help me kind of have a gut check on whether or not, let's look at this some more. All right, so if he married in 1940, where was Stella's family? And now I'm wondering. Let's look at Stella again in 1940. Where was she enumerated? Maybe it was California. Los Angeles, I mean. It was Beverly Hills. That's right, I forgot. Stella's in LA area. So I'd expect to see Frank in the LA area in 1940. I still have no hints for him. And the reason I have no hints for him is his name's too common and Ancestry doesn't know how to generate them. All right, so I'm going to do a manual search again like we did before. On the top right-hand side there. And I want to look at census and voter lists. And I want to look at them because this is a lot of results and I want to narrow them down a little bit more. And I want to look just at 1940. All right, this is where it's going to start to get difficult. Oxender was easy. Okay, I have a Frank Smith in Salt Lake. He was born in about the right time. Could be my guy. I'm going to open this up in a new tab. We talked a little bit about saving it to a thing. I don't save to the shoebox until I know, because to me saving this, it'll just muck up my shoebox. Here we have a Frank Smith Jr., born in Arkansas, not my guy. Here we have another, that's in Utah. See, there's just too many choices. Too many choices. And we're not, here's one, Frank S. Smith. Somebody's saying that's not his name. Could be him. Save that one over there. Frank T. Smith. All right. Oh, goodness gracious. This is too much. This is not enough. I'm not comfortable. If I save this record to Frank, let's stop for a minute here. Let's talk about this for a second. If I save either one of those records to Frank, then I'm going to start driving the hints down a pathway that I may not like. And let me show you what I mean by that. Let me show you something else that happens because of this, because this is how these mistakes happen, especially if you're in a family line that's a common name. Let me go back over here. So here we see these original search results. And I want you to notice right here, and I talk about this in a lot of my videos, to help focus your search on new information, we've removed the following results. So if there is another possibility for Frank Smith in 1950, then I'm not going to see it. They're not going to show me any other 1950 census records. They're only because I already have it. Their attitude is, you got it. You don't need another one. We're not going to muddy up your search results with giving you something you already have. The problem with that is, and I really kind of wish they wouldn't do this, if you have like multiple people in an area, particularly even like with names that aren't so uncommon, but you, especially as we move back in time, and your family's in a little area like in Virginia or I don't know, wherever, and there's naming patterns that are used, you can frequently have the same person in multiple families about the same age because cousins were named each, or even second cousins, they could even be more distant. Super common for this to happen. And once you grab onto a record, the hints are going to drive you down that path. And if I accept like some of these hints for Frank, where I add in a dad for him that may not be true, everything, all of a sudden I'm going to see a bunch of hints pop for him, and they will probably not be right because they're going to be for that family. And if that family's not right, I am like up a creek without a paddle. My tree is going to be wrong. All right. So I'm not comfortable with either of these records right now. So I need to go back and I need to do some more information on Frank. Okay. I'm going to go back to Frank. The one thing that I do have for Frank is I have his exact birth date. So I may be able to find him in Social Security records because that's going to have the same birth date. So I'm going to perform another search on Frank. See while that's popping up. Can you explain how to use the shoebox, how to find it, and how you use it? Okay, that's a really good question. Let me follow this train of thought, and then I'll go back to it if I forget, which is totally possible. Deb, would you hit me with that question again? Oh, and you know what? I just looked at the time. See, I get all excited. We're already over an hour into this. And do you want me to stop? Or you guys want me to keep going? Put something in the chat because this is like, we've been going for a while. I'm looking at something else. I'm looking at your comments. So if you want me to stop, tell me and we'll stop and wrap this baby up. But if you want me to keep going, I'll go a little bit further. All right, let's try to get a little bit further down on this tree. All right, so I got these census evaluations. I have a Lester Frank Smith who was born, see that? That's not my guy. He was born on February 18th, 1918, and my Frank was born on August 25th. So I want to go to, and they're in a weird space. Where do they put, I can never remember where they put the Social Security records. I can't remember. So I'm going to manually go into that record. Ancestry. All right. Okay, I'll keep going. All right, so let me go back to Ancestry. Thank you for your comments, folks. And I'm going to look for I'm going to go up here to search, and I'm going to go to the card catalog. And what I want to find is I want to find the Social Security, death, and other records. So I just typed in Social Security, and now I'm in the Social Security Claims Index. So I'm going to open that up in a new screen, and then on this one, I'm going to do the death index. All right, so I'm going to manually put this information in here. I've got a Frank Smith. I'm not going to put his initial. And I have him born, I already forgot what it was, 25th of August, 1918. Birth, 25th August, 1918 in Utah. I want to make sure to use that drop-down menu. I want to help them search it. Do I have that right? 25th of August, 1918. Yes, let's search. I don't have a result. Bummer. Now, because of his birth date, he might have filed with Social Security under a different birth date. Totally possible. Oh, sad days. Let's look at the death index. Let's try again. Frank Smith. Is it the 20? I already forgot. You guys, I drop names and dates like faster than you could even say like drop. August 1918. Let's say exact. No, let's not say exact. Well, maybe we should. Let's try it without first. That's what I probably ought to do in this one. Well, that one's thinking about it. I'm going to change this one to exact. And let's search again. See if that, I got 0. All right, that's not helping. Bummer, bummer, bummer. All right, let's see. He was living in Yuba, California. Could be my guy. 24th of August. Massachusetts, possible, but that's a long ways away. Minnesota, no. Issued date in Pennsylvania. Where was this one issued? This one was issued in California. So he got his Social Security card before 1951 in California, and I'm looking for that because we enumerated him in 1950 in California, in 1940 in California. So that helps me rule out these other opportunities because these guys were not in California, and that's where they had to have been when they filed their Social Security. See how I'm just kind of going down this list because we didn't find the exact date. All right. So I open that one up over here. So this said that he died in 1984. All right, I need to dive into this a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to type in Frank Smith, and you could use quotes, but I'm going to try it loose first. See what we get here on just a search. 1894, no, that's not him. Could be. No. No, let's look at this really quick. Frank Smith, where was this? Indiana, no. All right, but we're gonna go ahead and use, I do have a membership to newspapers.com. If you have the all access membership to Ancestry, you get newspapers.com for free. So if you're not using it, shame on you. It's an awesome site. I'm going to start new. I'm going to start a new search for Frank Smith. And I'm going to search in California. And that was in I already forgot that date. Told you I dropped dates. 1984. Oops, that was location. I did it reversed. California, optional, 1984, correct? Yep. Okay. I'm looking for, all right, let's narrow this down. Too many Frank Smiths, got to get this narrowed down. All right, his last residence was Yuba County. Let's see if we can put that in there. Yuba County, California. Oh wait, don't go away. See if it works. Why did it like stop the drop down? I much prefer to use the drop down because then I know it's working. There we go. Ah, went away again. Yuba. Yes. All right. Let's see what we got here. Frank H. Smith is, oh, look at, we have an administrator thing. Oh, that's in 34. We want, oh, this date didn't work right. Let's fix the date. 1984, California, Yuba County, and we got nothing. Oh my goodness gracious sakes alive. I'm striking out on Frank. All right, so let me look at your questions. I could put his middle initial P in there, but I was striking out on anything else anyway. All right. Hey, thank you very much, Elke, for asking people to like it. Love it. Thank you for saying that. And that really does help, by the way. If you like or comment on videos that we do on YouTube, it actually helps the algorithm let people know they like it, and then it gets shown to more people. So thank you. All right. I'm striking out here on Frank. I really want to find out more about Frank. and I'm kind of struggling with it. So let me go back to his wife, Stella. Let's see if we can find out more about Stella so we can put Frank in a place or time. I'm going to look more at Stella's hints, and we may have to call this, guys. I may need to be doing some more research on Frank, and I'll let you know what I would do. Here we have them in 1944. This was that newspaper article. Let's take a look at this really quick. I doubt this is going to be of any help. And if this opens up here, then you can click on here and you can open it up in newspapers. You have to sign in if you aren't already a member. Oh, she just was a good golfer. That doesn't help. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about what we could do. I'm going to just get rid of all of these census options because I can find them again in a heartbeat, and I just don't know. So let me just actually do a manual search for Stella, and then I think I'm going to have to call this because I need to get into stuff that's just way too complicated. I know, obituary of son. I know it. That's one of the things I would say. So that was the draft card that I didn't save to her. Stella. That's not her. Oh, while I'm doing this, actually, this is an opportunity for me to answer one of your questions. All right, somebody asked me about how those last names, surnames can affect marriage searches. I talked about this. I actually have another video that's in the video description below called Ancestry Searches. There's a handout for that one too. It's not available now to members. The handouts are only available for about a month and a half, but you can get it on Etsy. But when you're searching for women, it can be kind of difficult because if you're looking for a subsequent marriage, the search functions don't work so great on Ancestry. So if you want to search for a woman, I want you to point out here that it automatically adds in her married name. So even though I just have her listed as Stella Louise Oxander, it already put in her last name. It'll do that with husbands. And if there were multiple husbands, you'll see multiple names there. If you can't find a marriage record of a woman on a subsequent marriage, if it's not working for you, then you can play with this because it can make a difference. So let's say Stella's first husband died and she was married again. I want to get rid of Oxander and I want to look for a marriage record of a Stella Smith. But not only do I need to do it there, I got to get rid of all of the Oxanders here because I'm just going to get rid of everybody here because it's affecting the search. Sometimes less is more. And I'm going to get rid of this marriage fact here because she wasn't married to this new guy in 1940. And then I'm going to do a search. And that's going to, of course, the page is temporarily unavailable. Let's see if it refreshes. That's going to give me results for a Stella Louise Smith of about that age. And then I can drill in and just go right over here to marriage records. Gosh, this is really slowing down. There we go. And that would help me look for, and if this is the Stella Smith that my family knew, she wasn't married again. So, but here's one that was married in 1983. Could be her, but it's Stella M. Smith, so probably not her. So anyhow, let me go back over and just kind of chat with you. Struck out on the Smiths. That's the danger of doing this without knowing what I'm doing beforehand. What would I do? Somebody said, look for son's obituary. I would definitely drill into the records of Stella and Ronald and see what I can find out more. We have the marriage record for Ronald. I would probably look and see, do we have more information on Ronald? Is he still alive or has he passed away? Does he have an obituary that could give us more information? Even if it mentions an uncle on his obituary or a cousin, you know, that's a Smith, then all of a sudden I have names of people that I can work with. If this were further back in time, then it wouldn't be quite as difficult. The problem that we're having is that these people are pretty close to us and we've got privacy issues, right? And so some of these records that may be showing up for Ronald, if he were born like maybe 40 years earlier, I might be finding a little bit better and I would probably have better luck. To be honest, I don't normally get quite this stuck. I'll be honest with you. Normally, even with a name like Smith, I can usually get a little bit further. But this was good that it happened because we were able to talk about ways to be safe. And I hope you've totally gotten my caution. Don't save it unless you totally know that you're going to mess up your hints. Like sometimes I will go ahead and save a record and test it. And then I'll put like hypothesis as a tree tag. But, and I can show you in just a second how I do that. But I have to know that anything else that I'm seeing, I got to take with a grain of salt. And if I can't find points of connection, that's not an adequate reason to take one of those census records as far as I'm concerned. I want to know more about the family before I take in those records permanently, okay? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please put that in the chat. All right, somebody asked about shoebox, and I want to talk to you guys about that really quick. Let me share my screen again here with you. All right, so shoeboxes. Under your account, you have like a place where you can save things, and I don't use this very often, and I don't even know if I can tell you where it is. So a shoebox is like, let me show you, like if I go into this record, wait a minute, what's the better way for me to show this to you? All right, let me do a search on Stella again. I already deleted all the other stuff that I had up there that I could have shown you with this. So let me find another one. So let's say I say this record is Stella, all right? But I'm not sure. And so I think, well, maybe this is my Stella. I know this isn't her, but maybe this is my Stella, but I'm not sure, so I want to save it to my shoebox. Somebody said go to home. Thank you. So I think you can do it from over here somewhere too, and I can't remember. But anyway, let me show you how you save it. So if you click here, save, you can save it to your shoebox right here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this record to my shoebox. And actually, once I do it, then you can click the shoebox here as well. And you can open up your shoebox, and this shows you all of the records that you've put in here, and you can remove them, but it's like a holding spot for you to put records. Now, somebody said click home. I don't remember. That's terrible because I really don't use it very often, and I go to it that way if I am. So if you go home, on right over here on the bottom, you have shoebox. Yay, thank you. See, I only have 16 things in my shoebox. Anyway, I really don't use it that often, but it does work for a lot of people, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I probably should use it more often. I think my problem is because I'm doing client trees a lot, I wouldn't even remember who it might have pertained to. And I think that's why I don't do that. I keep a research calendar for all of my clients. And so anyway, so that record right here, if I then later on, I'm like, that's not her, then I can just trash it and get rid of it out of my shoebox. So that's how that works. Shoebox. All right, so let's see. Let me give you a couple more minutes. Hit me with some more questions. A DNA test. DNA tests vary in the United States. They have sales on them pretty regularly. Ancestry's tests vary in cost between like $59 and $99. I would recommend that you get a DNA test on Ancestry because they have a biggest database and you'll have more matches. However, if you are of Jewish descent, I would definitely do one on MyHeritage because they're based in Jerusalem, and they will let you know which type of Jewish heritage you have, Ashkenazi and Sephardic. That's it, Sephardic. So I would definitely do that, but definitely somebody said watch for sales on Ancestry. FYI, Roots Tech is coming the end of February, and they always put it on sale for Roots Tech. So if you join them, you may have to be a participant in Roots Tech to do it, but you don't have to go to Salt Lake City, Utah to go to Roots Tech. You can, and I have a video coming out on this in like 2 weeks. On like the 1st of February, I have a video about Roots Tech. And there's a handout too that you can get for free. You don't have to like be a member of Aimee's crew to get that handout. But if you can't go to Salt Lake City, you can also for free participate in Roots Tech and see some of those, some of that stuff. And it also gives you access to the expo hall, which is where all the presenters are, and that's where you can get the discount. So Mohammed, if you wanted to get a DNA test, if you're not seeing good prices right now, wait till the end of February, sign up for Roots Tech, and check out the virtual expo hall if you can't go to Utah. If you want to get the MyHeritage DNA test, I think I just saw MyHeritage's tests were like at $39 right now, which is really cheap. So you might want to look at that. Do I have any videos about Ireland? Good question. Ireland is, okay, you live in UAE. I don't know the laws. Some countries prohibit DNA tests being sent to them. I know some people have family members buy them when they're in a country where they can get it and bring them home. So that's my outside of the US advice. I don't really know a super ton about that. Do I have any videos about Ireland? I'm actually going to, there was a really good video that was on Legacy family tree learning thing. I don't know, Google that. They have some great stuff. And there was a woman that did a terrific video about Ireland, and I'm interviewing her she's coming from Ireland to Roots Tech, and I'm interviewing her at Roots Tech. So I will have a video sometime probably in March about Irish research. I am not an expert on Irish research. Professionally, I am a U.S. researcher, and so I am not comfortable with doing Irish videos because I'm out of my depth and I don't want to steer you the wrong way. Mind asking, when did you do yours and did you find anything new and interesting? Are you talking about DNA, Mohammed? I'm assuming that you are. I have done a DNA test on Ancestry. I've uploaded the data to MyHeritage, which, by the way, you can do for free. Ancestry won't let you do that. That's another reason why. Get your DNA test on Ancestry, and then you can upload it to GEDmatch or MyHeritage for free. So you can take those, pull those results out of Ancestry and do that. My family found an illegitimate son of a grandfather, but somebody else had already done DNA, so we'd already known that. So, but that is something that can happen when you do your family trees. Let's see. Probably tag Frank as a fan of your family. Paul, I'm not sure what you mean fan. I have a whole separate tree for Frank. He's not within my tree. If I had him in my tree, I would probably put him in a floating tree and then tag him. I actually talk about that in the Ancestry guide, the Ancestry guide video that I did last week. So check that out if you want more thing about floating trees and how to do that. Yeah, the Irish research stuff. Is it better to go on the website or the app? Really good question, Rachel. If anybody else has any questions, put them in there real quick because we're going to wrap this up fairly quickly unless I see some more questions. Fan club. Yes, Brendan, let me go back to that really quick. For the Smiths in my fan club, probably because my family talked about Frank and Stella Smith. And actually, my uncle is still alive. And I think now I'm going to reach out to him and ask him if he can tell me more about Frank. So I'd like to see if he can fill in the gaps so I can go to somebody living to try to give me some information that might help me bridge the gap that I'm facing with Frank Smith. So yes, definitely. Okay, so Ancestry's website or the app. I don't like the app. I work super fast on Ancestry, and if I'm on the app, it just takes me a lot longer. The screens are different. I can't open up multiple tabs. I much prefer to work on my computer. But the app does work, especially if I'm traveling and I want to look up stuff in my tree, I use the app then. So I don't think the app doesn't have a place. I think it does. Other people are saying website. Can I rename my tree? Yes, Cheryl, you can. And I'm not going to take the time to show you that. That is in my Ancestry video, the Ancestry guide video from last week. Go on my channel or go into this video description and you can see that a link to that video where you can get that information on how to rename your tree. So that the computer talks back to you? I have absolutely no idea what you mean by that, Devin. Clarify. Does anybody use the word county in the location that throws? Oh, that's such a good question. And it's part of the reason why I didn't do something. A-L-Y, I don't know how to say that name, but I love it. Let me go back over to my screen. I want to show you that really quick. Because I actually intentionally didn't do that. And let me show you why. Because I should have addressed that question and I didn't. And we should talk about the county thing because that's like a really common thing. All right, so Stella was born Alameda. Let's see. Do I have anything else that's a county? All right, Stella's a good example in Alameda County. We don't know for sure where Stella was born. That birth record is a county record. I know that just because I know California records. So Alameda is a county. It is a place too, but that county that Alameda is that record was a county-based record. That's how I know it. Sorry. Anyway, I just know that. So I didn't do the drop-down menu here, and I did it on purpose because I could have actually done this, but to me that's confusing about is it Alameda or Alameda County? If you're just working on Ancestry, you can click Alameda County like that. And I would advocate that because that helps you know that it's a county. You don't necessarily know she was born in the city of Alameda. She was just born somewhere in the county. However, Um, I love Family Tree Maker software. I use it primarily because I end up with pages and pages of trees, and I download my trees into the Family Tree Maker software, and then I delete them on Ancestry. Otherwise, I think I have like, I'm at 2 pages of just shared trees, and I was at like 6 pages of trees, which is like crazy. And I just can't function with that many trees. So I download them and then I delete them off of Ancestry. Now, most people wouldn't do that. I like Family Tree Maker for other things too, but in all honesty, I don't use it enough on its own that I haven't really done videos on it. I need to spend more time on it and do more videos on it because there's a lot of things I love about Family Tree Maker. It syncs your tree with Ancestry. One of the other things here, and I can just show you. Let me go into my Finder. I'm going to actually just take the minute and show you guys what I'm talking about because this is an excellent question and you don't mind staying, so we're going to do it. Let me open up Family Tree Maker somewhere. Where is it? It's going to take a minute to open, and I'll show you why county versus not county. There's schools of thought on this. There's some people that are like super opinionated about it, and I get it. I haven't been in here for a while. I'm not going to sign into Ancestry. You sync on Family Tree Maker like in here on Ancestry. I'm not going to deal with any of that. I just want to show you. So if I go to my places, I can see on a map where things are. And I like to, like when I travel, like for instance, Anaheim, Orange, California, but it's got a question mark by it. They're not like, I don't know why Anaheim's that way. What I try to end up doing, oh, wait a minute. No. Let me get down here. I need to go down to United States. I try to make, and I end up having to go back in and change this all the time. Every once in a while come in and clean this up. Because what I really want, did they change this? Huh. I think they just changed this. Maybe it's not such a big deal anymore. Okay, here's an example. Well, let me think of another example. That's not a great example. Well, it kind of is. You'll have like, I want the names. This is kind of weird because I haven't, what am I doing wrong here? They've totally changed this, so I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I want my names to be, let me go back to me, because I don't know, obviously, to show you what I'm trying to show you. It used to be where they had USA, the state, the county underneath it, and I wanted everything to sync up properly because I've had this happen. When I've been traveling and looking at my family tree, I want to be able to find all the people that were living in a particular area. And when some of my records said county and some of them didn't, it wasn't sorting them. But I think they may have fixed it. So I actually need to look into this and maybe do a video about it. If they fixed it, then my answer would be list it as county on Ancestry. If they haven't fixed it and you're using Family Tree Maker, you may not want to have the word county in there. When you're in Ireland and you have a place like County Derry, then that's like a whole nother ballgame, right? When you're outside of the United States. But if you're using another software and it affects your mapping technologies, you want to name things the way that software works, that syncs. And really the only two that sync with Ancestry are Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic. Family Tree Maker syncs with Ancestry, in my opinion, better than Roots Magic does. So let me see, what other things do we have here that you guys wanted to ask me about? Let me see if I got any other questions. Do I prefer, I just answered Family Tree or Roots Magic. I like Family Tree Maker better. I have both on my computer. And so, and Elke said I would do Ancestry and then upload results. Ancestry app and episode, great idea. That's a really great idea. Okay, we are at the end. I think I've hit all your questions. I so appreciate you coming. Again, please join Aimee's crew. You can do this with me again on Tuesday night. We're going to do this again, but we're going to be in my tree. And it's $9.99 a month. You can join, quit whenever you want. You get the free handout. This month, the handout is actually on Etsy. It's $14.99 because it's a beast. It's 44 pages for that Ancestry handout. and you get it for free for $9.99 if you're part of Aimee's crew. So a reason to do that. To join Aimee's crew. The links for the handout on Etsy for the Ancestry thing are in the description. The video for Ancestry Guide is in the description. The video for Ancestry searches that talks a lot more about some search things that I didn't get into today is in the video description, as well as an Ancestry playlist. I so appreciate you. Thank you for sending all the love, you guys. Thank you so much. I really have enjoyed doing this YouTube channel. It's only been about 2.5 years now, and you people are the reasons why I'm doing this. Thank you so much for the kind comments. Thank you for commenting and liking the videos. There's not words. Thank you all so very much. I hope you have a great day. You can always go back and watch this video later if you would like to. And it's going to go ahead and be in my video library if you wanted to come back and catch something else again. So take care. Have a great weekend.